So what are the reasons when your spouse doesn't want to have sex with you anymore? This is a super sensitive topic and it's not an easy one to discuss with your partner, and it's not an easy one to talk to anyone else about this. There's so much sensitivity around this topic. And when the spark is fading away and you find like, okay, there's my partner is not really that interested in me anymore, and I don't feel like this attraction, this gravitation from him, that he actually desires me, then this becomes a problem in so many different ways, right? We're starting to question ourselves. We're starting to like, okay, what has changed on our end? Like, does he have someone else? And so on and so forth. And there's a multitude of reasons why he might be not interested in sex anymore, or why he's not interested to have sex with you as frequently as you guys had before. And the thing is this, many of these reasons are actually solvable. That doesn't mean like it's gonna be an easy like walk in the park, obviously, but I want to give you 5 reasons of why he might not be as interested in having sex with you, or maybe not at all anymore. And some of them, they kind of make sense, and others, they might be a little bit more confronting and not as easy for you to hear, but let's get into this regardless, right? So the first one is one that many kind of forget, that many really don't pay enough attention to, which is like your partnership, your marriage actually became a platonic friendship. When someone is not attracted to you anymore, especially if you're in a romantic partnership, but actually everything that you do is just like became a platonic living right next to each other, just like being friends. And there's nothing that's been done in order to create a little bit of that spark and that desire and that mystery and that like sexual adventure between the two of them. And you're just like becoming a prisoner of your own routines, and especially routines that you have with your partners. You wake up, both go to work, there's no sexy vibe, and then you come home, everyone is tired. Nothing is really done in order to bring back a little bit of that spontaneity, that adventure, that like sexy desire that you kind of want to feel from your partner, but also that you have to give to your partner. So what happens is like, the romance becomes so dull because you're just like the slave of the routines and the familiarity. And clearly that's something like over time, if that's for too long and you don't like create this other interest and experience. So now obviously over time that spark becomes really, really dull because you're just like, as I said, a prisoner of your routines and the familiarity. And you settle into predictable patterns. Now we know what happens if something is too predictable. It becomes boring. It's like nothing exciting there anymore, right? So we need to reintroduce that adventure, that curiosity, that mystery, that spontaneity, and these activities that are connected to this. And like kind of go back to the time like when you were dating in the first place. How was that like? What did you do? What made it so exciting? What is it that you would like to do again? Like, you got to ask yourself these type of questions and see how much validity is in like, okay, yeah, actually we're just living a platonic friendship here right now, and it's not really a romantic partnership. So that's the first one. It's the first big reason. The second reason, which I think men and women experience both in their different ways, it's like the shifting priorities of life. If you have family, if you have kids, if you have a bunch of work responsibilities, then what happens is like you just feel so exhausted by the end of the day that the effort, and at that point it is a little bit of an effort, right? Because like you're just not in that vibe, generally speaking, anymore. That sexual tension is just missing, so you need to put in some effort in order to create it. But if you're already so exhausted, putting in more effort makes it even more challenging, right? So you kind of avoid this. And yes, we all go through these ebbs and flows of sexual intensity and this desire and like the frequency, the way how we would like to express ourselves sexually. If everyone is like totally exhausted, or just one person is totally exhausted, has a bunch of stress at work, then obviously it's not like high on the priority list then to go into the sexual experience with your partner. If your man comes home and is like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted, it's like, you might not like to hear this, but it's almost like it's the exact same thing as if he's making a move and then it's like, oh no, sorry, I have a headache. It's just a different thing of saying the exact same too, you know? It's like, I'm not in the mood, my head is somewhere else, my head is hurting, I am so exhausted. It looks different, and yet it's kind of the same thing. Your energy containers are so depleted that you don't really have the energy in order to get into that, sexual exploration. Hi. Did you know there's an ancient formula that can show you exactly what you need to do in order to experience the life and the love of your dreams? I'm going to share a little secret with you because I teach this formula to all of my private clients, and the results that they have achieved just from these insights alone is absolutely incredible. And I call it the love alignment equation. And for a very short time, I'm inviting you to participate in a free 50-minute love alignment call with me or a member of my Heart to Heart team. All you have to do is click the link in the description, and if there's a booking link with available times, then you still have a chance to reserve your spot. So act fast before I decide to close this offer again. The third one, and this is a little bit more of a confronting one, but I think it's so important to look at this. And I always talk about, like, you got to be willing to look at truth. So it makes sense now. One of the reasons why your partner might not want to have sex with you anymore is because he's not attracted to you anymore. And yes, the emotional connection, all of these other things can be there, but especially men more than women, we are attracted physically a lot to our partners, besides all of these other things. That's why they always say, I say this a lot, is like, women fall in love with what they hear, men fall in love with what they see. Now, if you've been a certain type of woman when you met and in the beginning stage but then, like, over time, because of the routines, because of the stress and the family and everything else, you kind of allowed yourself to, let a little bit more loose, maybe gain a little bit more weight, not take care so much of yourself, maybe don't, like, dress as nicely anymore, because also that is effort, right? And you're exhausted too, so I get it. But, your partner fell in love, is attracted, gotten, into a partnership, maybe even engaged and married and create a family with you because of not just who you are as a character and the personality and everything else, which is absolutely the most important thing, but also because he was physically very attracted to you in one way or another. We all have different types, so whatever. But if that has changed, and maybe that has changed completely and it's not quite the same at all anymore, then this is something we need to be willing to look at that piece of truth. It's like, yeah, okay, I'm not quite that woman anymore that I wanted to be. And obviously age and all these other things play parts in those. But still, if you look in the mirror and you could tell yourself, you know what, I haven't really done my best to show up for my partner in the best way possible, in terms of, like, trying to stay as much connected in a form, in a way, in a physical appearance that I know my man is attracted to me. And if you can look into the mirror and tell yourself honestly, it's like, yeah, I've been slacking. I didn't go to the gym in forever. I'm not eating healthy. I'm actually eating quite unhealthy. And I've find a bunch of excuses why I don't have time, but actually, is that really the truth? Probably not. So, and those are the reasons why someone just might not be attracted to you as much anymore. And then it's also they don't have as much desire to get into an intimate space with you. Now, obviously, there are many other reasons too. The stress and the anxiety that he might experience himself at work, at home, financial issues. There's so many other reasons why there might be a lack of attraction. But one of them, and this is the confronting part, might also be because he's just not as physically attracted to you at the moment. So yeah, if someone is very stressed, one of the reasons it usually happens is, like, we withdraw ourselves a little bit because we already do not have the capacity to properly show up, not even for ourselves, because we're stressed, we're overwhelmed, maybe there are financial issues, maybe there's stress at work. There's a multitude of reasons and explanations that I can give you right now, but you get the gist, right? So addressing these stressors and helping each other, how that can be potentially be removed or softened, would be something that can be very helpful in that relationship to reignite that spark. The fourth reason is self-esteem and confidence. It's most of the time that men initiating sex. And it's most of the time, therefore, also that men are going to be rejected. And if this is happening too much, then over time, the uncertainty that he's experiencing, am I going to get rejected again? Am I going to get, is she going to be up for it today? Probably not. Maybe yes, maybe no. And then like she's not really engaged. And he will lose confidence in himself. He will lose certainty in like knowing my partner is actually attracted to me. The same way how it works the other way around that I just mentioned, right? So if that happens too much, and there's too much, I have a headache, I don't have time, I'm stressed, the kids, and oh my God, and my boss at work, and so on and so forth, he's just, at some point, he's just gonna stop. He's just like, all right, I'm done. I'm not gonna, initiate anymore, because even when I'm like having the desire, then it's gonna get rejected, so I'm still not gonna get it. So sooner or later, he's just gonna stop doing it. And then if you want to go really bad, then obviously sooner or later he's going to look for it outside of the relationship in one way or another. It might take some time. Yes, maybe some will never do it, but, the same way how you have desires. So that's a thing just to be, pay a lot of attention to, because it's just like, it's a natural step of processes that are going to follow. If cause A, B, and C happens, at some point, D is also going to happen. So if your partner feels insecure, you want to create a very supportive environment. You want to also understand it's like, okay, you know what? Maybe it's also time for me to initiate a little bit more. Maybe it's also time for me to engage in this whole thing a little bit more than what I've done in the past. And, if you can, again, just be very honest with yourself and see like, okay, how often is he actually the one that's, has done the move in the past? And how often has that not been received quite well from you? If that ratio is kind of off a lot, then that can be another reason of why he's just not that interested in having sex with you anymore. And then the fifth one is one that is unfortunately, really, really unfortunately, quite a common thing. It happens a lot, these medical conditions and even medications, like health issues can affect his libido a lot, like by a lot. And if he takes medication and maybe even like antidepressants or whatever, it's even more impacted and affected by it. So, ED, erectile dysfunction, is, especially for older-ish men, I mean, we're talking about like 40, 45 plus, it becomes a really, really big thing, and it's a problem. And you can imagine if a man is struggling with ED, erectile dysfunction, he can't even get it up, then like his confidence, his like trust and faith in himself and who he is as a man, that's so shattered in so many ways. And if he doesn't have a woman who's truly understandable and supportive for that medical condition, and she's just like, not being supportive in that regard at all and understanding, then I don't want to experience that myself. I hope I'll never be in a position that this is going to be a case. But I can guarantee you, regardless of how strong, how powerful, how confident, how really integrated and embodied that man is with himself, that's gonna hurt him, and it's gonna impact and affect him a lot. If for those type of medical reasons and conditions, he then gets like almost like ridiculed a little bit in a passive aggressive, in whatever kind of way that may be. So if you guys realize, okay, this is really an issue here right now, then like also together, maybe not even alone, and that depends a little bit on the man itself, is like, okay, involve himself in trying to get medical help and medical support. Some men are, that makes them feel better because I feel like, okay, at least this is something we do as a couple, as a married couple, or as a partner. But others are like, they're so embarrassed. They're so, I guess embarrassed is the best word to describe it. With that situation, having the woman around there can make it even worse because they're consistently reminded of it. So these are 5 reasons of why a man might not want to have sex with you. Many of them you can actually solve. You can solve them alone. You can change the whole dynamic from the platonic relationship to more like get into romantic dating, like young, like creating new experiences and adventures, and with a lot of spontaneous new experiences, you bring in back that spark. That's obviously a reason. You want to figure out ways like, how can you like really put him in a position of like feeling confident, feeling empowered, feeling like he's highly desired and highly attractive, that helps a lot. Surely then the medical conditions and the medications, and then it's just like have some awareness around like, okay, there's some medication that he has to take right now, maybe just temporarily, so therefore that might affect his libido, or there's something that needs some proper attention from, someone with medical advice. And then the other thing is, like I said before, making sure the priorities, there's a level of priority for the romance and the partnership outside of all of these other responsibilities. And then with all that said, yes, look into the mirror, try to be honest with yourself. Are you still the same? Is he going to? And try to be honest with yourself. Is that level of attraction that you miss from him towards you? Are there things that you can improve on yourself in order to bring this to a higher level and a more sparkly type intensity in terms of that sexual energy between the two of you?